Welcome to Impact Signals, social impact at the scale of AI. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Sarah.
Saturday, March 28th, episode 43, weekend edition, 4 stories, and the disaster wire. We start with a new AI tool that could change how first responders approach earthquake damage assessment. Researchers from Ohio State University, Stanford, and the University of Texas at Austin unveiled the LEGG model, LoRA-Enhanced Ground-view Generation. The system takes aerial drone imagery of earthquake destruction and synthesizes photorealistic, three-dimensional views of what the damage looks like at street level.
The gap it's addressing is real. When a building collapses, aerial imagery tells you the roof is gone. It doesn't tell you whether the ground floor is stable, whether the stairwell is accessible, or whether the facade is about to come down on a rescue team. LEGG fills that gap by generating ground-level perspectives from the aerial data alone.
The system was validated against the 2023 Kahramanmaraş earthquake in Turkey, one of the deadliest in decades, comparing 2015 baseline imagery against post-quake devastation. It uses a technique called low-rank adaptation to fine-tune a diffusion model on just 3,000 city structure samples, which matters in humanitarian contexts where annotated damage datasets are hard to come by. For organizations like IFRC, UNOSAT, and National Civil Protection Agencies, this compresses the gap between aerial overflight and actionable ground assessment during the critical 72-hour search and rescue window.
From earthquake response to glacial hazards, the UN Development Coordination Office and UNESCO reported this week that the GLOFCA project, the Central Asia Regional Project on Glacial Lake Outburst Floods, has deployed AI integrated with local sensor networks in Tajikistan.
Tajikistan sits above the Fedchenko Glacier, the largest glacier in Central Asia. As glaciers melt, they form unstable lakes that can rupture catastrophically, releasing massive volumes of water downstream in a matter of hours. That type of event, a glacial lake outburst flood, can destroy entire communities with little to no warning. The GLOFCA system continuously monitors snowpack, temperature, and precipitation and uses AI to predict glacier melt rates and map hazard zones weeks in advance.
This matters beyond Tajikistan. Glacial melt dynamics in the Pamir Mountains affect water security across multiple downstream nations, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Afghanistan. The Adaptation Fund is supporting the rollout. Organizations running programs in Central Asia, UNDP, the Aga Khan Development Network, Mercy Corps, now have a functional early warning tool to incorporate into their early action trigger systems.
A research note from this week's EACL 2026 conference, the European chapter of the Association for Computational Linguistics. A team working with the World Meteorological Organization presented an open-source AI agent that automates the tracking of climate finance flows specifically for early warning systems.
The problem sounds dry, but it's actually a serious accountability gap. When donors pledge funding for early warning systems through multilateral development banks, climate funds, bilateral agreements, that money flows through dozens of heterogeneous PDF documents with non-standardized terminology. Manually tracking whether pledged funding actually reaches early warning systems is an under-resourced task that nobody does systematically.
The EW4All financial tracking AI assistant uses retrieval-augmented generation and chain-of-thought reasoning to extract, classify, and allocate budget figures from those MDB documents. Tested on the Cruise Fund corpus, a climate early warning finance database, it achieves 87% accuracy, 89% precision, and 83% recall. The code, model outputs, and human annotations are published as an open-source digital public good. For organizations working on climate finance accountability, this is worth reviewing.
And a governance story that ties together several threads from this week. Access Now published a report based on more than 70 interviews across the humanitarian and technology sectors called Reinventing Humanitarian Aid Procurement for the Age of AI.
The core finding, the aid sector is experiencing what the report calls corporate capture. Technology companies operating on a cloud-first playbook are embedding AI into humanitarian workflows through procurement relationships that weren't designed for algorithmic tools, and individual aid workers are using unvetted commercial AI applications without institutional oversight.
The report documents cases where chatbots went off script and delivered misleading information to vulnerable users, violating the foundational do no harm principle. Access Now researcher Giulio Coppi argues the sector urgently needs procurement frameworks that account for algorithmic bias, cybersecurity risk, and informed consent.
3 major governance documents in 3 days. The Safe AI Framework from CDAC and the Alan Turing Institute Thursday, WHO's AI Mental Health Consortium guidance earlier in the week, and now Access Now's Procurement Accountability Report. Organizations with AI procurement decisions pending have significant new guidance to apply before signing vendor agreements.
Events, RightsCon 2026 is underway in Nairobi through Monday. The IAAP Global Privacy Summit is April 1st through 3rd in Washington. The AI and Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Response Symposium, AI plus AHDR 2026, is April 7th through 9th in Burlingame, California, directly connecting AI researchers with practitioners. Action on Disaster Relief follows April 8th through 10th, also in Washington.
Disaster monitoring. The Middle East conflict has now entered day 28 plus. Lebanon has recorded more than 1,100 killed since the Israeli military operation resumed. One attack this week was near collective shelters housing displaced people, according to UNHCR. The UN OCHA Flash Update 12 for Lebanon was published yesterday. The Dutch Relief Alliance activated a joint emergency response. The Strait of Hormuz disruption is affecting humanitarian supply chains region-wide.
Kenya continues to face simultaneous flood emergency and drought crisis, with 3.7 million people projected to face acute food insecurity between April and June. Sri Lanka's Cyclone Ditwa recovery continues with daily situation reports. Somalia health cluster response data through February was published today.
That's Impact Signals for Saturday, March 28th. If this briefing is useful, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out at impactsignals.ai and share it with someone working in the field.
Stay ready.